Love, the word everyone worships, yet few understand. Most people chase it endlessly, desperate to feel whole. They confuse attention for affection, possession for passion, and dependency for devotion. But when you awaken, love changes. You start seeing beyond the illusion. You see how most relationships are built on fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, fear of not being seen. And you realize that real love doesn't come from need. It comes from awareness. It's no longer about finding someone to complete you. It's about becoming complete within yourself. That's why the spiritually awake struggle to find love. They crave connection, not attachment. Truth, not comfort. Energy that nourishes, not drains. They're too conscious for games, too self-aware for illusions, and too honest for masks. Their hearts are open, but their standards are sacred. And that's what makes them misunderstood. The awake don't fall in love the way the world does. They rise in it. Subscribe to join the Guru Clan, a brotherhood of awakened minds choosing truth over illusion, depth over distraction, and consciousness over comfort. Comment below. Do you think true love still exists in today's world? 1. They want depth in a world built on distraction. The spiritually awake crave something the modern world has forgotten how to give: depth. Not attention, not attraction, depth. The kind of connection that reaches beyond the body, beyond the image, beyond the performance. A kind that feels like truth meeting truth. But in a world built on distraction, that kind of love has become almost extinct. Everywhere you look, people are chasing stimulation, not connection. They fall for faces, not souls. They scroll for validation, not meaning. Conversations have turned into performances, affection into transactions, intimacy into a highlight reel. The world has become obsessed with speed, novelty, and the temporary but the awakened move in silence, slowness, and sincerity. When you awaken, you begin to see the emptiness in surface attraction. You see how quickly people fall in love with fantasies, not reality. You watch how fast they run from silence, how uncomfortable they are with stillness, how terrified they become when there's nothing left to perform. The awakened crave presence, the raw, unfiltered space where masks drop and energy speaks. But that space is rare because most people fear being truly seen. Depth is not romantic in the traditional sense. It's confronting. It asks for vulnerability, for emotional nakedness, for truth without defense. It strips away illusion. It exposes insecurities. And that's why most people can't handle the awakened. When they meet someone who sees them completely, they feel exposed, not loved, seen, but not ready. They mistake being understood for being judged, and they retreat into comfort. The awakened don't want perfect. They want real. They don't chase butterflies. They seek resonance. They don't crave sparks that burn out. They crave flames that endure. And that's why they often walk alone. Because in a world that rewards image over essence, their desire for depth feels like rebellion. They want to talk about meaning, purpose, and energy, but most people only know gossip, trends, and ego. They want to share silence without awkwardness, eye contact without pretense, honesty without fear. But modern love is addicted to distraction. It's addicted to drama, to dopamine, to everything that keeps the heart busy but never full. For the awakened, surface-level romance feels suffocating. They can't pretend to be interested in what doesn't touch their soul. They can't flirt with masks or invest in illusions. They sense energy before words, vibration before touch. And if the connection doesn't feel aligned, they simply can't force it. That's why people often call them hard to love. They're not hard to love. They're hard to fool. Their energy demands truth, not pretense. Their presence requires realness, not role play. They don't want partners who just look the part. They want souls who are the part. But the tragedy is this: most people don't know how to exist without distraction. They're uncomfortable with silence, with slowness, with stillness. They confuse peace with boredom, depth with intensity, and love with obsession. So when they meet someone awakened, someone grounded, calm, and conscious, it feels unfamiliar. They crave the chaos they've been conditioned to call passion. And so the awakened often end up walking alone, not because they reject love, but because they refuse to settle for imitation. They would rather be alone with peace than entangled in illusion. Their hearts are open, but their boundaries are sacred. They are patient, not desperate. Observant, not eager. Loving, but discerning. The awakened don't chase love, they attract alignment. They understand that true love is not found through searching, it's revealed through resonance. When two awakened souls meet, the connection feels effortless, almost divine. No chasing, no proving, no performing, just pure presence. But until that frequency matches, the awakened remains still. And that stillness confuses the world. People mistake their calm for coldness, their discernment for arrogance, their silence for disinterest. But they're wrong. The awakened aren't closed off. They're just waiting for something real. Because when you've tasted truth, illusion loses its flavor. When you've felt depth, distraction feels like death. And when you've awakened, love is no longer something you find, it's something you become. 2. They outgrow the illusion of need. Before awakening, love is often a search for completion. You look for someone to fill the silence inside you, to fix the pieces you never learned to hold. You chase attention, validation, and companionship, hoping that someone else's presence will heal your absence. For most people, love becomes an emotional survival mechanism, a way to escape themselves. But when you awaken, the search ends. Not because you've given up on love, but because you've found something deeper, peace within. You start realizing that the emptiness you were trying to fill was never meant to be filled by another person. It was meant to be faced. The spiritually awake no longer chase love to feel complete, because they no longer feel incomplete. They've walked through their own darkness, faced their own shadows, and learned to sit with themselves without fear. They've made peace with solitude, and that peace changes everything. To the unconscious, this looks like indifference. To those still seeking completion through another, it feels intimidating. Because when someone no longer needs you, you can't control them. You can't manipulate them through absence, attention, or approval. Their love becomes a choice, not a dependency, and that level of freedom terrifies those who equate attachment with affection. The awakened don't love because they're empty. They love because they're overflowing. Their affection doesn't come from need. It comes from abundance. They don't chase, cling, or beg. They flow. And in a world addicted to emotional dependency, that's hard to understand. The average person's idea of love is built on a fragile equation. You make me feel good, therefore I love you. But the awakened have seen through this illusion. They've realized that the moment your happiness depends on another person, you've given away your power. True love is not about completion, it's about expansion. It's not about finding your other half, it's about meeting another whole. That's why spiritually awake people often intimidate potential partners. Their calm feels mysterious, their independence feels distant, their detachment feels unnatural. People used to transactional love, the kind that thrives on constant reassurance and shared insecurity, don't know how to exist beside someone who doesn't require saving. You see, when someone has healed themselves, they love differently. They don't project their wounds, they don't demand emotional labor, and they don't confuse chaos for passion. Their love doesn't need to be dramatic to feel real. It's quiet, steady, balanced, and that's foreign to most. This independence, however, is not arrogance. It's clarity. The awakened know that they can walk alone without feeling abandoned, that they can give love without losing themselves. They don't confuse solitude with loneliness or connection with possession. They understand that it's not about dependency, it's about resonance. But this understanding often isolates them, because while they are ready to love freely, most people are still looking to be filled. They don't want to build with you. They want to feed off you. They don't want partnership. They want escape. And the awakened cannot participate in that anymore. That's why the spiritually awake are often misunderstood as unavailable. In truth, they're deeply available, just not for codependency. Their hearts are open, but their energy is guarded. They are selective not because they fear love, but because they honor it. To them, love is sacred. It's not a means to feel safe, it's a mirror for growth. The awakened understand that true intimacy requires two whole beings standing in truth, not two broken souls trying to fix each other. And until that alignment exists, they'd rather stand alone in peace than together in illusion. So they outgrow the illusion of need. They stop chasing love to fill a void. They stop believing that their happiness depends on someone else's presence. They stop confusing desire with destiny. This kind of independence is magnetic, but misunderstood. It's why the awakened can attract many, but connect with few. Because what they seek is not romance, it's resonance. Not someone to complete them, but someone to walk beside them. The awakened no longer say, "I need you." They say, "I choose you." And that difference changes everything. 3. They see through emotional games. When you awaken, something profound happens. Your perception sharpens. You begin to see, feel, and sense beyond words. Energy becomes your first language. You notice tone before speech, intention before action, truth before confession. The awakened read what's not being said, and that changes everything about how they relate to others. They see through performance, through charm, through the subtle manipulations that most people mistake for connection. They sense when someone is loving for validation, when affection is transactional, when kindness hides an agenda. They can feel the falseness in "I miss you" and the emptiness behind "I love you," because awakening doesn't just open the mind, it opens perception. Most modern relationships are built on emotional games. The chase, the power dynamic, the push and pull that keeps people addicted to attention. ghosting, testing, withholding, performing, all disguised as keeping things interesting. But for the awakened, that noise is unbearable. They see through the game instantly, not intellectually, but energetically. And because they feel it so deeply, they can't pretend to play along. They can tell when someone's love is rooted in fear. They can tell when closeness is just control. They can feel when someone desires their energy, but not their truth. And once they sense that misalignment, they walk away, not with anger, but with peace. They've learned that detachment is protection, not pride. Awakening brings a kind of clarity that ruins the illusions most people live in. You stop mistaking attention for affection, attraction for alignment, intensity for intimacy. You start to see how much of modern love is built on unconscious manipulation, emotional bargaining, disguised as connection. The awakened can't participate in that anymore. Their soul rejects anything that vibrates below truth. They no longer need to be chased to feel desired or tested to feel secure. They don't fall for mind games because they've mastered their own mind. They've seen how emotional manipulation creates addiction, how it keeps people locked in cycles of pain, craving highs and fearing loss. The awakened crave something quieter, love that doesn't need to control or prove, only to be. And that's why they often walk alone. The world confuses their peace for disinterest, their detachment for coldness, their discernment for arrogance. But they're not cold, they're clear. They're not detached, they're discerning. They no longer confuse chaos with chemistry. They're not seeking to win. They're seeking to align. The awakened know when energy doesn't match words. They can feel insincerity before it's spoken. They sense when someone's interest is fueled by curiosity rather than connection, by attraction rather than depth. They don't hate the game, they simply don't belong to it anymore. And because they no longer play, they're hard to manipulate. You can't guilt them into attention. You can't threaten them with silence. You can't bait them with jealousy. They don't chase what withdraws or fight to prove their worth. They move only toward truth, and that makes them powerful but misunderstood. People used to emotional games don't know how to handle authenticity. They misinterpret peace as boredom. They find emotional steadiness suspicious. They're so conditioned to confusion that clarity feels unnatural. And so when the awakened appear, calm, centered, free, they often intimidate rather than attract. But that's the paradox of awakening. Your clarity attracts everything meant for you and repels everything that isn't. The games stop working because you've stopped needing to play. You no longer depend on external validation to feel alive. You no longer fall for drama disguised as love. You've learned that peace isn't dull, it's divine. The awakened crave stability, not stimulation. Presence, not performance. Energy that uplifts, not entangles. And because that kind of love is rare, they would rather walk alone than pretend to be blind. They no longer get addicted to mixed signals or seduced by uncertainty. They understand that emotional games are just fear in disguise. Fear of losing power, fear of vulnerability, fear of truth. And the awakened no longer fear truth. They live in it. That's why they can walk away so easily, not out of pride, but out of preservation. They don't leave to prove a point. They leave because the vibration no longer fits. They've learned that peace is not won through control. It's found through alignment. And once you've experienced that kind of clarity, manipulation loses its charm forever. 4. They love without possession. When you awaken, love transforms into something few can recognize. It becomes quieter, deeper, freer. It no longer clings, demands, or traps. It flows like air, invisible but undeniable. It's presence, not possession. Connection, not control. Before awakening, love is often built on ownership. People say my partner, my person, my love, as if affection were something to claim. The world teaches that loving someone means holding on to them, fearing their loss, shaping them to your desires. Attachment is mistaken for devotion, jealousy for passion, dependence for intimacy. But awakening shatters that illusion. The spiritually awake understand that love cannot be possessed. You can't hold another's soul hostage and still call it love. True love allows freedom because it knows freedom is the only soil in which love can grow. When you awaken, you stop needing to control or be controlled. You love not because you lack, but because you overflow. You don't cling to someone's presence, you honor their essence. But to the unawakened, this kind of love feels foreign. They've been conditioned to equate possession with safety. They believe that if you're not jealous, you don't care. If you're not constantly available, you're distant. If you don't chase, you're cold. The awakened refuse to play by those rules, and that confuses the world. They love differently. They give space, not silence. They offer presence, not pressure. They don't demand constant reassurance because their love doesn't live in insecurity. They understand that everyone must walk their own path, and love, when true, honors that path, even when it leads in a different direction. This kind of love feels light, not because it's weak, but because it's unburdened. It doesn't weigh the soul down with expectation. It doesn't suffocate the other with fear. It's love without chains. And the world, so used to emotional captivity, mistakes that freedom for indifference. But awakened love is anything but indifferent. It's deeply aware, fiercely compassionate, and profoundly patient. It doesn't need to prove itself because it is itself unconditional. It sees without judgment, accepts without possession, and stays without fear. It's the kind of love that says, I want you to be free, even if that freedom takes you away from me. And yet, that very purity often isolates the awakened, because most people don't know how to receive love without control. They confuse intensity with intimacy and cling to chaos because chaos makes them feel alive. The awakened, however, have learned that real love is stillness. It's two complete beings sharing peace, not two broken ones trading pain. When they love, they do so without contracts, conditions, or ultimatums. They don't keep score. They don't manipulate emotions. They don't love out of fear of loss, because they know that love, when real, can never truly be lost. It only changes form. This detachment is what makes their love misunderstood. People mistake it for emotional distance, but it's actually spiritual clarity. To the awakened, attachment is not love, it's fear of absence. Possession is not care, it's insecurity dressed as devotion. True love is not about holding tighter. It's about seeing clearer. The awakened have learned that every soul is sovereign. You cannot own what was never meant to be owned. You can only honor what flows to you and release what doesn't, with gratitude. Their love isn't a cage. It's a sanctuary. They give freely because they have no agenda. They stay because they choose to, not because they need to. They love without expecting return, and that kind of love is revolutionary in a world where everyone loves to get something back. So the world calls it cold, but in truth it's the warmest love there is, the kind that liberates, not limits, that expands, not entraps. Because the awakened understand a truth few dare to face. If love requires possession, it was never love, it was fear. They love without fear. They love without demand. They love without attachment. And that's why their love is misunderstood, because it's not built to comfort the ego, but to free the soul. 5. They're meant to find love through purpose, not people. At some point in the awakening journey, the search for love takes a dramatic turn inward. You stop chasing people and start merging with purpose. You realize that love is not something you find, it's something you become. It's not a destination waiting in another's arms. It's a frequency that begins within your own being. Before awakening, love feels like pursuit, a constant search for someone to fill the emptiness, to bring meaning, to make life feel whole. But once consciousness expands, you begin to see that the real romance was never between two people. It was between your soul and the truth, between your purpose and your presence, between your awareness and the divine intelligence guiding your path. The awakened fall in love differently. They fall in love with creation itself, with the sunrise, with stillness, with silence, with the act of becoming. They no longer crave the emotional roller coaster of attachment. They crave alignment. They don't need constant company because their mission gives them fulfillment. Their purpose becomes their partner. Their passion becomes their devotion, and solitude becomes their sacred space of intimacy with the universe. For the awakened, love evolves into something cosmic. It's no longer about finding someone to share loneliness with. It's about living so truthfully that love flows through every action, word, and breath. They find romance in growth, connection in creation, and meaning in evolution. They see purpose as the truest form of union, the merging of soul and destiny. But this shift is misunderstood. To the unconscious, it looks like isolation, like indifference, like an inability to connect. The world calls them too focused, too serious, or too independent. But the truth is, they've simply found a love higher than attachment, the love that flows from alignment with their path. Most people seek relationships to escape themselves. The awakened seek to expand themselves. They're not looking for distraction. They're looking for reflection, a soul who vibrates at the same frequency, walking the same direction, guided by the same light. And until that alignment appears, they choose solitude, not out of bitterness, but reverence, because they know that forced connection dilutes divine energy. The awakened understand that true love cannot contradict purpose. Any relationship that pulls them away from their path is no longer love, it's temptation. They refuse to settle for comfort when their soul was designed for evolution. Their devotion to growth is so fierce that mediocrity feels like betrayal. So they pour their love into their craft, their mission, their calling. They channel it into words, art, discipline, creation, healing. Their love becomes service, not because they don't crave intimacy, but because their intimacy with truth feeds them more deeply than fleeting affection ever could. This is the sacred paradox. The awakened often love everyone, yet belong to no one. Their heart beats for humanity, for consciousness, for the divine. They radiate love without needing ownership or recognition. They embody it, and that makes them magnetic. People feel drawn to them, but few can meet them, because the awakened don't want to be completed. They want to co-create. When you vibrate at this level, love finds you differently. It's not chaotic or dramatic. It's aligned, peaceful, and rare. It's not born out of desperation. It's born out of destiny. Two awakened beings don't fall in love. They merge in mission. Their union amplifies creation rather than consuming identity. Until that moment arrives, solitude remains their truest soulmate, not as a punishment, but as preparation. Solitude refines the heart, sharpens intuition, and strengthens alignment. It teaches them to love without clinging, to give without draining, and to feel without losing balance. The spiritually awake don't lack love. They've transcended the lower forms of it. They've found the eternal version, the love between soul and purpose, self and truth, being and becoming. And in that sacred devotion, they realize something few ever will. Love was never about finding someone to live for. It was about finding something to die for, and in that death, awakening completely. In the end, awakening doesn't make you incapable of love. It transforms the way you love. You stop chasing people and start aligning with purpose. You stop confusing attachment for connection. You stop mistaking drama for depth. Love ceases to be a game of need and becomes a mirror of growth. The spiritually awake walk a path most can't understand. They crave depth in a world addicted to distraction. They choose solitude in a culture that fears silence. They love without possession in a world that worships control. And through it all, they remain open, not to just anyone, but to the one who vibrates in truth, not illusion. Until that alignment appears, they are content walking alone, because solitude for the awakened is not emptiness, it's elevation. It's the sacred ground where purpose and peace meet. It's where they fall in love with life itself. The truth is simple. Spiritually awake people don't struggle to find love because they are unlovable. They struggle because they refuse to betray their evolution for comfort. Their heart beats to a higher rhythm, one that only a few can hear. When love does arrive, it won't be a distraction. It will be destiny, calm, clear, and free. Subscribe to join the Guru Clan, a brotherhood of awakened minds devoted to depth, truth, and transformation. Comment below. Do you believe awakened love still exists in this world? Share your truth. Your words might awaken another soul. Remember, the awakened don't wait for love to complete them. They become love, and everything aligned with truth finds its way home.